Our last full week of school before summer. I love summer.
Nice, nice, very cool. So my good news is I've had a very productive morning. I got a new book shipped to my door. I've started a new journal. I washed my car. So again, it's been very productive already today, and we're still in the beginning of the day. So I got a lot of clarity yesterday on some stuff that I was looking for clarity for, some projects that I got going on. So I'm excited about the rest of the day to jump into that and move everything forward. So let me see, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. We will dive into it. I started the recording just a little bit late here on Zoom, so the YouTube version of this will have missed my first little intro. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it again because you YouTube people are important to me as well. Basically what I said was, if you would like to join us in the group and hop on any of these calls live, or just see the other cool stuff that we got going on in there, you can do that. Just click the link down in the description. Welcome to the call, Danny. Let me see if I can unmute you really quick. All right. Hey, Danny, welcome to the call. Before we get into the crypto stuff and I share my screen, share some good news with us, Danny. What you got? No, you're muted. Hang on. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Unmute. Okay, now try talking.
Great. So I'm excited about reaching some goals, health, and now some financial glitches are being a little bit taken care of by some support groups. So money's coming to me. So
cool.
pretty exciting.
Nice, nice. Money coming in is always a good thing. For me these days, when money comes in, that means more to put elsewhere, put in things that I trust and believe in more so than the dollar. Because for me, a lot of my money still comes in the form of US dollars, and I'm sitting here bashing the US dollar every day, right? Like talking about the death of it and how it's going down. I'm gonna talk more about that even today too. So for me, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna shun all US dollar right now. We're still very early in this game. And so we're making the transition. So a lot of my US dollars as they come in, as you guys know, are going into things like gold, silver, and crypto. So, all right, let me share my screen and we will dive into it. You guys should be able to see. All right. So let's see, you can see Facebook. I'm going to go to coinmarket.com. Let's take a look at what's going on. And then we'll do a quick market overview. I can get into some world news really quick because there's a couple of key things you need to be aware of. And then we'll talk, related crypto news and some predictions and all of that. So what's going on in the world of crypto? Let's go ahead and close that. Market cap is at 395 billion, which is up from last Friday, 392 billion. So not a lot of movement since Friday. 24-hour volume, 21 billion. Right, kind of in the little parameters that we're used to seeing recently. It's usually somewhere between 20 and 40. That's kind of where the 24-hour volume is falling as of late. So I'll be excited to see, and I know that this is where we're going. I mean, eventually we'll have that number will be much higher. The market cap will be much higher too. It'll be a multi-trillion-dollar market cap in the not too distant future. So, and that, I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of growth that has to happen for that to take place. So let's see here. 24-hour volume, 21 billion. Total number of cryptocurrencies is 1610. There's 1604 on Friday, so we've got a few more new ones. Bitcoin dominance is at 36.8, which is down a little bit, 36.8. From Friday, it was at 37.5. So that's what's going on there. If we just scroll down, you'll see that at this moment, there's a lot of red. So let's just see how much red. This will be interesting. How much green? All right, so there's about a dozen, maybe 2 dozen, not quite 2 dozen cryptos out of these 1,610. About 2 dozen of them are in the green, meaning they have increased in value in the last 24 hours. Here's the interest. Now this is a rolling 24 hours, and so this changes multiple times throughout the day, depending on the last 24 hours. And so every hour, 1 hour drops off, and we're in a new set of 24 hours. And so that's kind of how this works. And so that's why you might see it go up and down multiple times during one 24-hour period when you're looking at it, because it's on a rolling 24-hour clock that this is being measured. So at the moment, we're in a very much so red market, down market. Not a down market, a down day, right? Like it's a red day. That's what we call a red day. Here's what's interesting about this. Early this morning, it looked very similar to this. It was a red day. About an hour later, it was the opposite of this. Every single crypto had gained like 5 to 7%. And so there was massive jump earlier today, which we're going to talk about that here in a bit, because that plays a very important role. And I'm actually shocked. I was geared up to talk about the manipulation behind this instant and all included 5+% jump that we just saw, because that doesn't happen in normal markets. If you've watched markets for any time, that type of jump across the board simultaneous like that does not happen naturally. It is an obvious and clear sign of manipulation, which I'll get more into that. So I was geared up to talk about that, and I logged in and I'm just seeing this red, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like now they're all down. So it's crazy what's actually going on. So I'm going to skip over the bond and gold market. There's not a lot of change or news there. I mean, obviously the gold and silver are staying about the same until certain events happen. As more and more dominoes fall in the collapse of the dollar, then we'll see, little ticks, but it may take some time before gold and silver really see big jumps. They're not nearly as volatile on a day-to-day basis as the crypto market. So let's see. So there's not a lot of change there. As far as current prices, Bitcoin is setting at 8,500, Ethereum 715. EOS 1364, Litecoin 140. So that's kind of where things are at in the market. I want to get into some world news really quick, because there's some important stuff going on that you guys need to know about. The first, without getting too deep into this, the overall message here is there's a bunch of, I mean, we've talked about this. You see both sides. I mean, literally, when something good happens, in the very same moment, you're going to see a headline that talks about that something good, and right next to it, a headline that talks about the exact opposite. And so you're left wondering which one's the truth. What do I believe? How do I know what is truth and what's not? And it comes, that awareness comes once when you stay plugged into kind of the surface level of what's going on, you start to see patterns. You don't have to get deep into this stuff, and I would advise you guys not to get deep into this stuff. Don't veg out on this doom porn type stuff that all of these crazy life-changing, world-altering things are happening and they're not good. Right? Like, we're going through a process. We're moving into a new world. A lot of bad stuff's got to take place in order to get to where we want to go. That's thing number one. And there's a lot of, thing number two is there's multiple sides to the story, and there's multiple agendas at play here. And so it's just kind of a web that you don't really want to get tangled up in. But simply by just paying attention to certain headlines, and then also certain and other news sources that you have that you learn to find or whatever, just to I might be one of them for you. So the more you do that, the more patterns you'll start to see, and you'll start to get a feel for yourself, kind of what's going on. I don't want you guys taking my word for all of this. I mean, and I'm one that doesn't watch a lot of the news, and I don't have to, fortunately. I've never really enjoyed watching a lot of news. I did watch a lot when I was growing up, because literally we had 3 channels on the TV out at my dad's house, and that was all that was on most of the time, was news. And so I watched the news growing up, and I watched the people that watched the news, and so I've seen, I grew away from that because everything was so negative, and now I found a nice little balance that I'm happy with, at least. So I don't get too deep involved with it, but I do pay attention enough to see what's going on, because I know that what's happening in the world right now, like with world peace and the collapse of the dollar and all of the stuff that revolves around that, like that's directly related to the crypto world, which I'm very much so interested in, because I believe that's the future of money. And my objective is to take full advantage of this big wealth transfer that's happening. And so I want to, I'm going to pay attention to the news, what I need to pay attention to it, as much as I need to pay attention to it in order to get what I believe to be, a clear picture of the truth. And to be honest, like, it's never a super clear picture, because there's so much shit being talked by both sides. It's hard to get a clear picture, right? And I'm not right on everything. However, and I have no idea how I kind of got off on that rant, but whatever. So a couple of things that are happening. Number one, there's a lot of movements in the Middle East, right? All right, so the battle for planet Earth is heated up again. I've read some notes with major movements in the Middle East, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Europe. And so there's this side of people that's kind of wanting to start World War III. And then there's this other side of people who want peace and friendship, among the world. So the good guys, bad guys, right? So that's kind of going on. And on this front, there was a lot of talk about the move that Trump made this past week or so, with the Iran nuclear deal, pointing out that was a step in the wrong direction, and the bad guys won that. But in reality, it's actually not, right? There's sources from the Pentagon that says the end game is literally to force both Iran and Israel to denuclearize after North Korea, and we know that's happened. And then have a permanent, and then when that happens, that's when we get to peace in the Middle East. So it's just another domino, like it's part of the plan. It's so obvious to me, but like that's not what you hear, and that's not what the mainstream media, in the the CNNs and Fox Newses and all of those sources, like that's not the story that you're hearing. It's a step in the wrong direction. And if you look at the people that are speaking out, and if you've done any research on them, and kind of where their affiliations are and what they're tied to, and the corruption that's going on, then it just becomes obvious that this was a clear step in the right direction. And it's the first time that this type of a split between the U.S. and Europe's happened since in the post-war era. So. One of the things, let me see here. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of very, like, and I've said this before, shocking type of world news coming out, events that have taken place that the world believes were natural disasters, the truth coming out about some of those, and so there's going to be a lot of that type of news, and just like a lot of truth surfacing in the very near future. And that's because that's a result of, you know, the good guys are winning the battle. That's the end. That's the end of the story. I mean, that's what's happening at the end of the day. But you don't hear that on the mainstream media. I mean, that's not what's being talked about. That doesn't get people's attention like the negative stuff and the doom and gloom and all of that, you know. And the people's attention are what's important to the media, because attention equals revenue, it equals ad dollars, it equals, you know, more exposure, and that's how the game works. So that's going on. That's all good at the core. So as far as crypto news, last week, and I posted this in a group. Let me pull this up really quick. Hey Bonnie, welcome to the call. Thanks for commenting. Let me see here. So this right here, this is cool. China-Japan ties return to right track marked by Chinese premier's visit. So last week, the Chinese premier, I cannot pronounce his name at all. He was taken on a tour of Japan by the Prime Minister Abe, and so the two countries signed a lot of cooperation agreements. And this is a pretty in-depth article. You can read a lot about it. I don't know if I'll be able to find the specific. Yeah, so different. There's that one talks about the trade cooperation, cross-department work for third-party market corporation under the framework. Okay, so like there's a lot. Yeah, this is it. China also agreed to grant Japan qualified foreign institutional investors quota of 200 billion yuan. That's not it. The two sides also agreed in principle to sign a currency swap deal at an early date, and this will help safeguard financial market stability and promote investment facilitation. All right, this is a big deal. This is basically, I mean, them agreeing to reopen swap arrangements of Japanese yen and Chinese yuan. That's a major blow to the petrodollar. You know, and the petrodollar, the source of it, it gets U.S. bullying everybody, bullying the rest of the world. And that's been the case for years now. You can't buy oil anywhere in the world unless you use our U.S. dollar. That's no longer the case. And now these other countries are negotiating, saying, look, I can, like right now, today, people are still using the dollar to do it, because like that's been the thing for so long. And like there's not a lot of means. It's like cryptocurrency. Like there's not 1,000 options for wallets. There's a few. Like it's a new space, right? It's a new time for that. And so as these new partnerships are forming, deals like this happen. Other countries start coming to terms and agreements and cooperation, saying, you know what, yeah, we can change currencies. Let's get rid of this U.S. thing. Like we don't want them anyway. Like we establish our values and we start doing it. So that's just another major blow. It's the U.S. dollar losing more control. And guess what? When these dollars that have been pushed out and outsourced to these different countries, they start coming back, and when the other countries start abandoning them and they start flooding back in, inflation's going to also flood back in with that. And that of course super spikes the existing U.S. currency supply, which makes the value of that dollar do what? Decline, go to the floor. So that is all happening. I talked a little bit about already the drastic 5% jump, and now the decline, the pretty much immediate decline in the last 24 hours. So this is just an obvious sign of manipulation, and the fact that it's controlled, because like money can't go in and out of a market to all, like there's no news driving that, right? Like seriously, every coin goes up by that much in the push of a button. No, there's no news that would drive that type of thing. Like do you realize how many people would have to decide at the exact same time to put a lot of money into into all of these different coins? The odds of that happening are like non-existent. And so that's just it's a clear sign that, and so how does that happen then, you might ask? Well, it's because we've got things like futures and derivatives and all of these other things that we know have been documented to be manipulated for, since day one, basically. That's why some of these things were created in the future. Like now that they're involved in the crypto game, and you can trade Bitcoin futures contracts and things like that, well, you can go in and push a button and just pour billions of dollars of futures into the market. And they're connected. The futures market's connected to the real life Bitcoin market. They're integrated in a way. And so they know how the game works, and they know if we want the price of Bitcoin to go up or down, here's what we need to make happen on the futures market. And they just do that at push of buttons, right? It's all rigged. The futures market and CME contracts, all that stuff, it's just completely rigged. So let's see. So there's that. Australia banning cash payments. You guys see this that I posted in the group? Where'd it go? Right here. Australia bans cash for all purchases over $7,500 starting in July of 2019. This is kind of a big deal. Just imagine that happening in the U.S. You can't go buy anything in the U.S. For cash if it's over $10,000. I mean, that's the beginning of saying, okay, cash is going away. I don't know how to get clearer. I mean, you can wait for other signs to happen that say, okay, well, now I believe that cash is actually going away. I've been telling you, like, cash is going away. The fiat money system, paper-based money, it's not going to be around for much longer. So those of you that are saving that stuff and you have your future financial situation tied into that stuff, it's a good time to start rethinking it. It's a good time to start planning for where do we go after this? What are my other options? Because cash is going away. And as these different things happening, we got cash going away. We got banks closing up for lots of different reasons. I mean, that stuff's got to go somewhere. That wealth has to go somewhere. And it's very much my belief, as you guys know, that it's going into crypto markets as well as gold, silver, things like that. So watch for a lot more news coming this week, crypto related news, simply because there was a big crypto Bitcoin related conference. Let's see, that just happened over the weekend. And so there will likely be a lot of news that came out of conversations from that and just different stuff, new announcements that were made, all of that stuff. So it just wrapped up, the conference did. So expect some more major news. I would assume that this would be kind of a big news week in terms of what crypto projects are doing what. Right now, it's a red day. It's a down time. Down is always a good time to buy. Anytime you see it in the red. So at this point in life, though, where the world is at, even green's a good time to buy. Just get in the game. Just get in the game if you're not in the game. If you need help with that, we have a game that will help get you in the game. It's a digital training course. It's called Getting Into the Game of Bitcoin. But once you do it, you're not limited to Bitcoin. It's really getting you into crypto. So if you're interested in that, come into the group, create a crypto Facebook group, read the pinned post. There's a link to a 3-part training series that I did that will walk you through that process and show you how to get in the game of cryptocurrency without wasting all the money and time that I did. And if I told you guys how much money I wasted, and I lost, and by bad investments, fees, lost wallet IDs, and codes, like between all of that stuff, it's ridiculous amount. Like I don't even like thinking about it, because why am I getting blurry? Oh, I'm moving too much, I guess. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're watching this live in the group or the replay, drop me a comment. Let me know that you see it. Click the like button, and we'll see you all again back here tomorrow. So take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.